From monster fish to floating brains, ponds can create a unique ecosystem that are ripe for strange things to grow, but they're also fantastic hiding places for the unexplainable and the unthinkable. These are the top 10 dark discoveries made in a pond that have left scientists speechless. Number 10. Radioactive fish? Now, most of you will have seen the three-eyed fish from The Simpsons that lives in the pond near the reactor in Springfield. But what if I told you there were some real creepy creatures growing near a real nuclear site? The Chernobyl nuclear meltdown is the biggest disaster of its kind that has ever occurred, and the site and surrounding area still remains uninhabitable to this day, unless you're not a human, that is. In the cooling pond for the now destroyed reactor, some monsters lie in wait. Massive catfish, thought to be the result of radiation mutation. I mean, look at that thing. The largest found at the site was measured to be 1.65 meters in length, and that's the size of a person. I would assume that that was a mutant too, especially given how close it is to the defunct reactor. But scientists have discovered that the absolutely gargantuan fish have not been affected by radiation, but by the rest of the cooling pond's ecosystem. Since there are no predators for the catfish that still live in the pond, they have an isolated food chain that they can be the king of, feeding on smaller fish, worms, and even amphibians, allowing them to grow to this massive size. Scientists are still doing more research in the area to see how other wildlife has been affected by the radiation. Number 9. Bobbing for brains. In 2017, British Columbia's Stanley Park hosted what they called a BioBlitz, a 24-hour event where scientists and adventurers of all ages would come together to try to catalog as many species in the area as they could. One of the so-called blitzers saw something strange in the water, a pulsating, slimy blob, and when they went in for a closer look, it seemed that they'd stumbled across a human brain floating there in the pond. Upon further inspection, however, it was revealed that it was in fact a rare colony of microorganisms that had grouped together, known as a bryozoan. These organisms, which feed on algae and plankton, group together in large blobs, so they can stand a better chance against the harsh world of an aquatic ecosystem. But they were thought to not exist in freshwater west of the Mississippi River, which was both exciting and concerning to scientists. Since they can only survive in waters that are warmer than 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 15.5 degrees Celsius, scientists think that this can be another warning sign of global warming, showing rising water temperatures around the world and the effect that it has on the ecosystem. Number 8. Coffin on the course. In 2019, maintenance workers at the Tetney Golf Club in Grimsby, England, were tending to a water hazard, and they stumbled upon something amazing under a mound of gravel at the bottom of the pond, a large wooden coffin. When archaeologists arrived to investigate, they realized the significance this find could hold. So, to keep the wood from disintegrating when it was removed from the water, they put it in a bag while it was underwater so that it could be removed from the pond while staying submerged. After sitting in cold storage for a year to strengthen it for examination, scientists began their work and opened the coffin. Inside, they found no identifiable remains, as DNA testing has proved unfruitful. Likely they rotted away under the water, but they did find something else. An axe, which appears to be from the Bronze Ages, around 40,000 years ago. Woolly mammoths still roamed the earth at that time. The coffin was made from a single oak tree and was lined with plants for cushioning, which helped date the objects. It also shows that whoever was buried in it was of some great esteem. For number 7, we take an even darker turn. In 2017, Oklahoma resident Brandon Duran had his life taken by his ex-wife and her new boyfriend, but his body was not discovered for quite some time. That is, until a witness who actually helped dispose of the deceased came forward and told the police where he could be found. Police sent divers to the bottom of a local pond, and what they found was truly shocking. Multiple buckets were retrieved from the bottom of the pond, and forensic research showed that after he had died, perpetrators decided to dispose of him in the grisly manner of dismembering, then placing body parts in different buckets, filling them with concrete, and throwing them into the pond. The people who committed this gruesome crime were arrested and brought to justice, and a documentary was even made about the case. Number 6. Boiling point. Now, we've all heard of hot springs, but this next entry really takes the cake. This interesting body of water is located on the beautiful island of Dominica and has some very strange properties. It was first reported in 1870, but it wasn't until 1875 that it was fully investigated by scientists. The 250-foot wide lake was giving off steam and even bubbling, and the temperatures measured were around 92 degrees Celsius at the water's edge, near boiling. And the water was too hot to measure in the center, but since the water water is actively bubbling, it must be over 100 degrees Celsius or 212 Fahrenheit. The water is likely heated by an underwater volcano, which causes gas heated by magma to increase the temperature of the water to its boiling point. Scientists have seen periodic large fluctuations in both the temperature and the water level, which they attribute to eruptions nearby. In 1880, the lake disappeared almost completely and became a fountain of hot water and steam, or a geyser, refilling over the next few years. In 2004, the levels lowered by 33 feet, but in 2005 refilled completely in one day. This showed scientists just how fragile the local geological systems are. Even though it seems like the next level of a hot spring, do not go swimming here. Number 5. Frozen flames. Speaking of hot water, this next entry on the list has shocked scientists around the world because even though this pond in Alaska is frozen over, the water can actually be lit on fire. These special bodies of water are called thermokarsts, and when frozen over, flammable gas coming from the bottom is trapped and then released when a hole is stabbed in the surface, allowing for the impressive display of fire and ice when lit. But it wouldn't be on this list if there wasn't something more sinister behind it. The reason this phenomenon is occurring is what's frightening, because the gas being released is methane gas, which is not only very flammable, but a potent greenhouse gas. So why are more and more of these methane lakes being found? Well, most of this gas was actually frozen and trapped in soil and ice during the Ice Age, and now rising global temperatures as a result of climate change are melting these methane beds, creating huge pockets of greenhouse gases just waiting to be released into the atmosphere. So while this is a cool party trick, the fact that it can happen at all proves that we need to find a way to combat both the cause and the effects. Number 4. Cannibal frogs. The name Goliath frog is crazy enough on its own, but there's more to these amazing African amphibians than their size. While the frogs themselves can weigh as much as a whopping 3.3 kilograms or 7.2 pounds, they're strong enough to move stones up to 2/3 of their own size. They move these rocks to create nests for their young to be protected from predators and the environment. The stones and other objects used create their own pond, and the frog then lays their eggs inside. And as the tadpoles hatch and grow, they leave the nest on their own once they're big enough to scale the walls. Unfortunately, most of these tadpoles will never make it out alive. Many species of frogs, including the Goliath frog, eat not only insects and other arthropods, but they also eat their own tadpoles and even other frogs. So not only are these guys massive, but they're cannibals too. Giant cannibal frogs. Now, that sounds like a movie on par with Sharknado. Number 3. Ancient tools and bones. In 2018, archaeologists were working in the Nufud Desert in Saudi Arabia and came across something they were not expecting. I know, a desert is not a pond, but this desert was once the bed of a pond or swampy area, shown by fossilized bones that have been found of small water birds, grazing animals, and even predators that frequented watering holes like jaguars. But along with the bones, the scientists also uncovered stone tools made by humans between 300,000 and 500,000 years ago, proving that earlier fossils they had found with chips and cuts were caused by humans. The tools were most likely made and used by early hominins like Homo erectus and predate any other artifacts found in the Arabian Peninsula by more than 100,000 years. Things like this showing just how long humans have been around and how far we've come always blows my mind. Number 2. Haunted by horses. In Milton, Ontario, there's a disturbing legend that dates all the way back to 1885 at Crawford Lake, one of the many bodies of fresh water in Ontario. The story goes that a father and son were carting lumber across the frozen lake in the winter, for construction or for warmth, nobody knows, but their horse-drawn cart was too heavy when weighed down with the cargo and crashed through the ice. The father and son floated to the surface and escaped with their lives, but the horses attached to the cart were sadly dragged to the bottom, where they sit perfectly preserved. At night, from the water's edge, they can be seen staring out from the depths with ghostly red eyes, longing to escape their watery grave. No one has officially investigated this, so for now, the mystery remains unsolved. Number 1. Death Pond. If you're not already afraid of the ocean, this should do the trick. 1.5 miles under the surface of the Indian Ocean lies a so-called death pond, created from pockets of minerals over 23 million years ago, and it kills anything that enters it instantly. Fish, shrimp, eels, you name it. If it enters, it never leaves. Scientists have discovered many of these death ponds throughout the Red Sea, and they're filled filled with brine and salty solutions, but absolutely zero oxygen, which is what makes the area so deadly to sea creatures. Other predators use these pools as hunting grounds, cleaning up the borders of anything that made the mistake of trying to swim through, as they go into shock from the lack of oxygen and immediately die, making for easy pickings for the predators. You know what they say, work smarter, not harder. That's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.